Young Chickens! I am so excited to be watching a new drama with you guys, and this time the drama that we're watching is Sisyphus. So I have no idea what that title means at all, but I'm guessing that it's going to become like relevant as we watch the series. But yeah, it's a new drama with Park Shin-hye, who is super popular, and the same guy from Stranger, and I guess his name is Cho Seung-woo. So I am really excited for this drama. I'm not gonna lie, at first I was leaning more towards the Hello Me drama, the romantic comedy that's also coming on at Netflix at the same time, and if I have time I'll review both, but I decided to go ahead with this one. And you know, starting at the first episode, it was really exciting. Like, oh my gosh, I just didn't realize how long it's been since I watched a good sci-fi, and like part of me just yearns for it. It's just like sitting there watching it reminded me of the times that I sat and like watched Firefly, even though the show is nothing like Firefly. They're not like even related, not even close, but it just like, I was like, oh man, I miss sci-fi in my life. So I was really excited when this started because it immediately starts out with Park Shin-hye, and she has to time travel, go back in time to save the past. And she's having like this tearful conversation with her dad. Her dad's saying like, you have to go back, and it's very like, you're our last hope type of vibes, you know? And I really felt like they chose the right actress because Park Shin-hye, her performance really kind of carries that first opening sequence. Like, she's playing off her dad in the beginning, and she has to like express the gravity of the situation. Just, you kind of have to imagine how bad things are in the present, and I feel like her emotions really, you know, portray that. And then she goes back into the past, and like immediately these unnamed people are hunting her, and she's walking around and her feet are bleeding, and I felt her portrayal of that was very compelling. So good job, Park Shin-hye. Honestly, I haven't watched Park Shin-hye for like 10 years. Like the last drama, 8-10 years, the last drama I saw her in was like this romantic comedy about falling in love with her neighbor, and she was a hermit. I don't know. I don't even remember what it's called, but yeah, that was the drama. And like now she's about my age, so it's kind of like we grew up together. And I'm really happy for her getting like these really meaty and weighty roles lately, so that's really exciting. I found it interesting that they paired her with this older guy because they're about 10 years apart, and like I know like I shouldn't even think about it at all, but it was just a little strange. I don't mind it though. I mean, you know, if you're into age gaps, that's really cool. But yeah, it was interesting for me because I was like, they're not the same age. But it doesn't matter, love is love. Moving on. So anyway, she's running from this unknown group of people who are hunting her, and like at the beginning I was like, oh, I don't know the like exact rules of this universe. She seems like to be just escaping them, and they end up like creeping up on her while she's sitting on top of a train, and that's just where the scene ends. And I thought like she time traveled or something to get out of that situation, but I don't quite think she did. It never shows us exactly what happened there, and I'll get to that point later. The next thing that we see is this really genius CEO, and like you can tell from the beginning that he has a good heart inside of him, although he comes off kind of like as a flirt, as a playboy. But immediately it gets really engaging because he's on a plane that is crashing to the ground, and he's able to act immediately and go and save the flight. Okay, so the plane is going down and something goes through the windshield and kills the pilot, right? And he's able to go into the cockpit, like plug the hole that's taking all of the oxygen, and somehow at the last minute connect wires to fly the plane up. All the while he's talking to his assistant. It is really interesting stuff because he's like a CEO who hasn't been like appearing at his board meetings or whatever, but it was really baller because he immediately told his assistant, look, you know, I'm giving you my last will and testament on this plane. I want you to put half of the money for my company into charity. I want you to put half of the money into stock options for the employees. You can have my cars, and my bodyguard can have my other cars, and also the board of directors gets nothing. So I'm sure like but it was just really funny because he doesn't like always care. Even though he's the CEO, he's just like, I'm gonna do what I want. So this genius CEO manages to save the plane from crashing at the very last minute because, yo, this plane was gonna crash like in the middle of Seoul. It was about to be like a thing, right? But he managed to save the plane from crashing, and then he like goes into a coma for like a month. That's like weird, right? But he wakes up and like the whole country loves him. Everybody's sending him gifts and telling them how much he loves, how much they love him, except his assistant. His assistant's like, I know you've been sleeping, but things be the same as they were before. Your board of directors hates you. So they tried to oust you while you were technically dead, all of this. And so I love this about it. He has a true friend because his friend is not afraid to tell him the truth, take him to task, tell him like, look, you are still grieving the loss of your brother. You're addicted to pills. You need to go to therapy and actually like talk to the therapist there and not just have her write you prescriptions. So I really appreciated that he honestly had a true friend. And that's also part of the storyline. His brother has died, and it was a really weird choice that they made in the beginning for me because it's like he's seeing his phantom, his ghost, like, he's seeing his brother in his head, right? And that becomes interesting, I think, later on. But basically, the CEO has been really messed up since the passing of his brother because it's very clear that his brother was his best friend, okay? His assistant, is close to him, like family, like that, cousin who comes around to your house like all the time. It's clear that they're very close and they have a good relationship, and, his assistant can tell him the truth. But his brother was his best friend. He and his brother ended things on a bad note the last day that they saw each other. The CEO was about to give a presentation at a big conference because I think he'd made it on the NASDAQ or something. It was a big moment for the company, okay? I'm not financial, okay? So anyway, he had a big moment and his brother showed up at the conference and he was telling him all this crazy stuff like, there's people and they're after you with suitcases, and immediately his brother's like, have you been drinking? Like the CEO's like, have you been drinking? And his brother's like, just a little bit. And so, the CEO is kind of tired of it. You can see like maybe this is a problem that's been happening for a long time. So he shakes him off and he's like, look, I'll call you tomorrow. But like it's almost like the hurt is already like done. And so the CEO has a lot of guilt over the way this happened because the next time he sees his brother, he is dead. Okay, so it's a big wound for him. Okay, so the next thing that happens is the co-pilot from the flight that he saved shows up and says, hey, the thing that came through the window that caused the air leak wasn't a bird because they thought it was a bird flying through the sky. Oh, no. It was a suitcase. It looked like a suitcase, and he hands him this flash drive, okay? And the CEO reviews the flash drive, and he's like, not only is it a suitcase, it looks like there was a person in the air. And that person looks like my brother, which totally threw me for a loop because I totally thought I was going to be that girl because they didn't really connect anything in the beginning. She's the only one walking around with a suitcase. I thought it was going to be her in the sky. And I was like, why would she be up there? This is crazy. I don't know. Next thing we see, the same girl from the beginning, she is going around trying to find shelter. And she's already kind of breaking rules. Like she's not supposed to talk to anybody. And she's talking to a random boy that she found who like gave her shelter and food. And she's not supposed to try to find Han Tae-sul. Oh, that's his name, the main character, Han Tae-sul. She's not supposed to try to find him. That's what her dad said, but she's immediately trying to find him. So I don't really know what the deal is there. Like, is it that a lot of people have gone before her and have tried this mission and failed, so she's just gonna go off book and break the rules now? It's just not clear because her father gave her clear instructions and clearly she's breaking them. So that's interesting. And that's where the first episode ends. And frankly, I thought the first episode was really strong. But then let's get into the nitty-gritty of the second episode. Han Tae-sul, our main character, the CEO, is deciding to follow up on all these leads about his brother because obviously he's seeing his brother on the footage of the plane crash, but his brother's supposed to be dead, like 2 years ago. So he's like, what is going on here? So he happens to go out and triangulate the landing of the flight and finds the suitcase. He opens the suitcase and it has his brother's camera in it. And he's like, wait a second, has my brother not been dead this whole time? Now, let me take a pause because I'm gonna tell you guys my theory, okay? Here's my theory. My theory is that 2 years ago, Han Tae-sul's brother found out that about this whole thing, this time travel, blah, 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 right? And somehow he was able to time travel, right? So at that point, 2 years ago, he left, right? And so then he came back from the future to try to stop Han Tae-sul's death because he knew that for some reason these people would be looking for him. They're called the Control Bureau, right? And so that's how somehow he time travels and ends up in the sky, right? Okay? And that's why he ends up in the sky. And I think in the air, maybe his body time traveled back to the moment that he disappeared 2 years ago. And that's why they found his body mangled. Because when Han Tae-sul went to go check the DNA results of the ashes in the urn, they were in fact his brothers. So that makes me think that that was in fact his body, and somehow maybe he traveled in the air? Time traveled in the air? But yeah, that's my theory right now. Let me know your theory, guys. Okay, so this is later Lexi. I actually made a mistake. When you go back and watch the drama, it says that the ashes in the urn were 99.9% unmatched. They were tricky, okay? So my new theory is that his brother faked his death, okay? That's my new theory. Meanwhile, we have this Control Bureau, and they are hunting the time travelers, and they're hunting anybody who knows about the time travelers. So they're hunting the girl from the beginning. I have to figure out what her name is. I'm sorry. Okay, but they're hunting Park Shin-hye's character, right? And they're hunting anybody that she came in contact with. And if you came in contact with her and you don't have any status, like you're not important, they will just kill you. I was really sad that they killed the shop owner who, you know, admittedly wasn't the nicest, but he was a normal person, had nothing to do with anything, and they straight up killed him. So that made me sad. And then the little boy that she's staying with, I think that they would kill him too. So that makes me really nervous. But this is the moment when the Control Bureau is hunting her where I felt, this is the only moment where I was like, this is kind of, I'm not in it, because I felt like the fight scenes were just not realistic. I think she did a great job in terms of the stunts. I mean, it looked like she was doing her own stunts. I'm gonna have to Google it. But in terms of like the actual plotting of it, like there were like 20-30 men with guns surrounding her, and I don't see how she's making it out of there. And then she had one gun, and it's just like she was like shooting around them, and when she would jump from building to building, it's like they were waiting to shoot. So it just wasn't realistic. Like it just like it wasn't, you know what I mean, right? It's like those action movies where you have to suspend your disbelief because there's just no way she would make it from point A to point B with no bullet holes. She only has one gun, and just no, okay? That was the only part of this that was hard for me to believe, and it kind of took me out of it. Meanwhile, Han Tae-sul is finding out more and more about his brother's disappearance, and you know he's kind of getting somewhere because the Control Bureau shows up, and they capture him. They say, what do you know about the time travelers? And gotta say, they said the only reason that we're not killing you is because you seem kind of important at the moment. So, you know, they're bad people. But both the main characters are narrowly able to escape the Control Bureau. The main girl, because she apparently fought her way out, and Han Tae-sul because they just let him go and they're gonna keep watching him, right? And they both decide to go to Busan, and honestly, I don't know why they're deciding to go to Busan. This is definitely something I missed. So if somebody could tell me why they're both having the same, like, you know, idea to go to Busan at the same time, that would be really helpful. But yeah, and that's pretty much where it ends. And the boy that she's been staying with this whole time, she decides to just leave him at the train station, which I thought was like a really bad move, honestly, because the Control Bureau will definitely be hunting him, and like then she wouldn't be around to protect him. But yeah, she leaves him at the train station. She fills in his lotto numbers, and then she's like, peace. She gets on that train. So I'm wondering if that boy is going to show up later, because I found him to be like a lot of like, I find him like, you know, fun. He's like comic relief. Yeah, you know, he's like, what is happening here? So at one point, he like walked from behind like their encampment, like when they were being chased by the Control Bureau. He walked from behind and he was like, I don't even know this girl. And he like put his hands up, and I was like, are you crazy? Anyway, okay, so that's basically where episode 2 ends. The two main characters are both headed off to Busan. I am not really sure why, but yeah, I thought that the first 2 episodes, like overall, were pretty strong. I am definitely gonna keep watching to see the overall like story, all the seeds that they're planting. Even though that like fighting sequence kind of took me out of it, I enjoy a show where I have to think, and I enjoy a show where I'm like putting the puzzle pieces together. I just like enjoy that sci-fi moment. So I'm definitely gonna keep watching. And yeah. I hope that you guys keep watching too. Tell me what you thought of the first episode and let's watch together, okay? So I will see you guys next week. Bye-bye. Annyeong chicken. In the morning, in the evening, or sometime in between, I hope that you will see some Lexi on your screen. Subscribe.
How does perfection feel, darling?